Hello and welcome to day 22. It is the 22nd of August and welcome to our Adventures of the Acts of the Apostles through August. Cliffhanger yesterday, it was a real EastEnders moment, wasn't it? It was a duff moment because Paul was in the middle of a riot. The people were wanting to kill him, but he was saved by the Roman commander, and then he turned to the commander and said, "Can I say something to the crowd?" And he was just about to start when we got to the end of the chapter. So this is chapter 22. This is what Paul says to the crowd that had rioted. This is what his words were. "My friends and leaders of our nation, listen as I explain what happened. When the crowd heard Paul speak to them in Aramaic, they became even quieter, and Paul said, 'I am a Jew, born and raised in the city of Tarsus in Cilicia. I was a student of Gamaliel and was taught to follow every single law of our ancestors. In fact, I was just as eager to obey God as any of you are today. I made trouble for everyone who followed the Lord's way, and I even had some of them killed. I had others arrested and put in jail. I didn't care if they were men or women. The high priest and all the council members can tell you that this is true. They even gave me letters to the Jewish leaders in Damascus so that I could arrest people there and bring them to Jerusalem to be punished. One day, about noon, I was getting close to Damascus when a bright light from heaven suddenly flashed around me. I fell to the ground and heard a voice asking, 'Saul, Saul, why are you so cruel to me?' 'Who are you?' I answered. The Lord replied, 'I am Jesus from Nazareth. I am the one you are so cruel to.' The men who were traveling with me saw the light, but did not hear the voice. I asked, 'Lord, what do you want me to do?' Then he told me, 'Get up and go to Damascus. When you get there, you will be told what to do.' The light had been so bright that I couldn't see, and the other men had to lead me by the hand to Damascus. In that city there was a man named Ananias, who faithfully obeyed the law of Moses and was well liked by all the Jewish people there. He came to me and said, 'Saul, my friend, you can now see again.' At once I could see. Then Ananias told me, 'The God that our ancestors worshipped has chosen you to know what he wants done. He has chosen you to set the one who obeys He has chosen you to see the one who obeys God and to hear his voice. You must tell everyone what you have seen and heard.' What are you waiting for? Get up, be baptized, and wash away your sins by praying to the Lord." After this I returned to Jerusalem and went to the temple to pray. There I had a vision of the Lord, who said to me, "Hurry and leave Jerusalem. The people won't listen to what you say about me." I replied, "Lord, they know that in many of our meeting places I arrested and beat people who had faith in you. Stephen was killed because he spoke of you, and I stood there and cheered them on. I even guarded the clothes of the men who murdered him. But the Lord told me to go, and he promised to send me far away to the Gentiles." The crowd listened to this until Paul said this. Then they started shouting, "Get rid of this man. He doesn't deserve to live." They kept shouting. They waved their clothes around and threw dust into the air. The Roman commander ordered Paul to be taken into the fortress and beaten with a whip. He did this to find out why the people were screaming at Paul. While the soldiers were tying Paul up to be beaten, he asked the officer standing there, "Is it legal to beat a Roman citizen before he's been tried in court?" When the officer heard this, he went to the commander and said, "What are you doing? This man is a Roman citizen." The commander went to Paul and asked, "Tell me, are you a Roman citizen?" "Yes," Paul answered. The commander then said, "I paid a lot of money to become a Roman citizen." But Paul replied, "I was born a Roman citizen." The men who were about to beat and question Paul quickly backed off, and the commander himself was frightened when he realized they had put a Roman citizen in chains. The next day the commander wanted to know the real reason why the Jewish leaders had brought charges against Paul. So he had Paul's chains removed, and he ordered the chief priests and the whole council to meet. Then he and Paul led in and made him stand in front. Then he had Paul led in and made him stand in front of them. That's the end of chapter 22. So Paul speaks to the crowd. They don't like it, do they? Even though he tells them all the things that had happened to him and how he'd been a good Jew, a really good Jew, so good a Jew that he was against Jesus and against the Christians, and then he'd been turned around. That's where he'd come from, and he was trying to prove his credentials, but the people didn't like it when they heard what had happened, and then he was going to get beaten by the Romans, but then he made it clear that he was a Roman citizen. And then they backed off, didn't they? They weren't able to do what they wanted to do. And then the poor commander can't understand what on earth is going on. So he's going to try and find out what's going on by calling the Jewish council together and getting them to make their case in front of him so that they can then get this thing sorted out. And we'll see what happens next. See, come back and join me tomorrow, chapter 23, as we find out what happens when Paul is put in front of the Jewish council. Have a great day today, though. Come back tomorrow, find out what happens next. All the very best. God bless. Bye-bye.